A very good afternoon to all. Hope you all are safe and doing well. Thank you all for finding time and visiting today's webinar. I, Dr. Anupama Pardeshi, on behalf of Medi-Caps University, Department of Management and Commerce, welcome you all for the guest lecture. Medicaps has been a brand name in the arena of technical and management education. Medicaps has consistently aimed at creating an ideal ambience for budding technocrats and managers and helping them to grow like true professionals. Medicaps University, being a torch bearer in domain of education, endeavors to spread this fighter spirit among students. The global pandemic posed a challenge and we all are set to overcome it. On 25th birth anniversary of our beloved freedom fighter, a true soldier, Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose is the perfect occasion for it. Subhash Chandra Bose was an Indian freedom fighter and one of the causes to Indian freedom. He was known as Netaji. He was the president of Indian National Congress from 1938 to 1939. He attempted to get rid of British rule in India during World War II with the help of Nazi Germany and Imperial Japan. Subhash Chandra Bose gave the most popular national slogan, Jai Hind. Our topic for today's guest lecture is Awakening the Soldier Within You, the Netaji's Way. And our resource person is retired Colonel Manojburman. For today's guest lecture, I heartily welcome our Honorable Vice Chancellor Dr. Sunil K. Somani Sir, retired Colonel Manoj Burman Sir, Dean Management Dr. Harish Bapat Sir, HOD Management Dr. A.K. Singh Sir, HOD Commerce Dr. Haldar Sharma Sir, and all respective deans, HOD, faculty colleagues, and dear students. Before we start, let me explain how we'll proceed for the guest lecture. Initially, I'll invite our resource person, retired Colonel Manoj Burman. If you have any questions during this session, write in chat box and we'll have question and answer session at the end. We'll share the link for feedback at the end of Zoom session in a chat box. Kindly fill the feedback form and you will get certificate on your mail ID. Now, I would like to invite Honorable Vice Chancellor Sir for introductory speech.
सभी को नमस्ते. I welcome Colonel Saab for sparing his time to address us, and not only address us, but to give and guide we people what he felt during all those days, which are very important for the history of India and for the people like us who are born in only in the independent Bharat, and it is due to the efforts of all those legendary people who worked really hard for the nation. And as we gathered here today to uh, know something about Netaji, whose birth anniversary is today. I won't tell much about the Netaji, but because नेताजी खुद का नाम जो है इट्स हमारे लिए वेरी ऑनर, वी आर ऑनर्ड कि नेताजी का कोई एक सम्मान में वी आर एबल टू हैव द बर्थ एनिवर्सरी काइंड ऑफ थिंग थ्रू इवन इन द कोविड पीरियड थ्रू ऑनलाइन मोड. And I would like to tell you that Medicaps University is trying its level best to know something and do take the advantage of such celebrations to give the glimpse of all those days. और रिटायर्ड कर्नल साहब हमारे साथ हैं, तो बर्मन साहब जो हैं, he will definitely enlighten us about all the things related with the freedom, also with नेताजी. हम लोगों का सब पूरे परिवार की ओर से फुल मेडिकैप्स फैमिली प्लस ऑल द पीपल हु आर कनेक्टेड, because the participants are not limited to only Medicaps, they are from different parts of country also. And सभी को मेरी तरफ से जय हिंद, जय भारत. Over to you, Anupama, again.
Thank you so much, sir, for enlightening our session with your precious words. Now, we can begin with today's topic, that is awakening the soldier within you, the Netaji's way. But let me take this opportunity to introduce our resource person, retired Colonel manojburman. आज के हमारे स्पीकर कर्नल रिटायर्ड मनोज बर्मन 1971 में भारतीय सेना में कमीशन हुए. आपने भारत के दो प्रसिद्ध सैनिक स्कूल गोलपारा आसाम तथा चित्तौड़गढ़ राजस्थान में अपनी उल्लेखनीय सेवाएं प्रदान की हैं. आपने आईएमए में 3.5 साल प्रशिक्षक एवं भोपाल तथा इलाहाबाद सर्विस सिलेक्शन बोर्ड में लंबे समय तक चयन अधिकारी के तौर पर सेवाएं दी हैं. भारतीय फौज से सेवानिवृत्ति के उपरांत आईपीएस इंदौर, एनी बेसिन तथा गोकुल दास स्कूल खरगोन में प्राचार्य के रूप में अपनी उल्लेखनीय सेवाएं दी हैं. आपके द्वारा भूतपूर्व सैनिक सेवा परिषद प्रांत के अध्यक्ष तथा फिन्स मध्य प्रदेश के जनरल सेक्रेटरी का दायित्व सफलतापूर्वक निर्वहन किया गया है. वर्तमान में एक प्रख्यात शिक्षाविद आपके द्वारा आर्मी, एयरफोर्स, नेवी तथा एनडीए सीडीएस की प्रवेश परीक्षा की प्रभावी तैयारी परीक्षार्थियों को करवाई जाती है. साथ ही यूपीएससी, एमपीपीएससी के परीक्षार्थियों को भी अपनी संस्था फोर्स डिफेंस एकेडमी के माध्यम से प्रभावी तैयारी करवाते हैं. एंड टुडे वी आर फॉर्चुनेट इनफ टू हैव अ स्पीकर लाइक यू. नाउ I would like to invite our resource person, retired Colonel Manoj Burman, for sharing his views. Sir, over to you. Thank you, sir.
My salutations to Honorable Vice Chancellor Sir, Medi-Caps University, Dr. Wapat, Dr. Anupama, Dr. Syed Hussain, and all the viewers across the time zone. And therefore, I said salutation and not good morning, good afternoon, because I'm given to believe that we are covering different time zones. The topic before me today is awakening in you the soldier, the Netaji way. I generally cover this topic in two parts. One, the Netaji part, and then how we all aspirate for a career can emulate his ways, which were definitely the army way. I thank the Department of Management and Commerce, Medicaps, for touching upon an aspect of the life of Subhash Chandra Bose, who is also called Netaji, which generally not brought in the forefront. His famous call, "Give me blood, I'll give you independence." Today in management, our students are being taught that nothing comes free. And about a century back, he gave us that mantra that if somebody makes you believe that you will get freedom for asking, you are wrong. You have to pay a price for that. That he was born on this day in 1897 to a wealthy family where his father was a practicing lawyer in Cuttack. These are the information that all of us have. But the historical, political, and cultural perspective of this man, I will like to focus. Having born in a country where saying Jai Hind was an offense, many peoples have been hanged for this offense. It was a treason. In 1857, when there was a rising of soldiers of British Company, East India Company, the reins of this country was taken over by the British Parliament in the year 1867. And thereafter began systematic cutting off the political entity or the geographical entity called India. In 1786, Afghanistan was taken out for so-called administrative regions. Then 1905, 1925, 1930, 31, Nepal, Sri Lanka, Tibet, all these countries were taken out of the administration of India and were made into independent states. This period, following the India bifurcation, leading up to 1947, when finally we got our independence, was the period when we saw not one but two World War. 1914 to 19, the World War I, 1939 to 45, the World War II. So world was a battleground generally. And in this scenario, a person called Subhash Chandra Bose was born. And like any young man of his time, also wanted a career. And the most coveted career, gentlemen, at that point of time in the British Empire used to be a career in ICS, Indian Civil Service, which very good could even think of. His parents allowed him to go to England, making preparation. Unfortunately, he reached at a time when all admissions were closed. But then he managed and got a degree from a private course and appeared in ICS and qualified for it. Listeners and viewers, imagine a British India for what we used to call sun never sets, because globally there were colonies that were ruled by Britain, and in that part of that empire, a young man qualifies for ICA to rule that, becoming the part of that ruling elite, and then he feels, because of the prevailing circumstances, the subjugation that Indians were suffering, the humiliations that the Indians were suffering, he thought what is more important for him was to liberate this country and get its lost prestige. Today, living in the cocoon of our home, we talk of career options, and we cannot imagine this condition in which this young man, went to England and then qualified for ICS. And finally, when that awakening came from within, that he is not born to do this, but he has to pursue a different career. Possibly it would be very difficult for many of us to comprehend how one can do that. However, he did that. And he resigned from ICS because he felt that it is not his cup of tea. He is born to do something different. I will not say that it was good or better, because no career is good or bad, because part of my talk today will cover also awakening the soldier in you, the Netaji way. we all, those who are listeners, either they are already in a career or they are vying to get into a career. At times, we get into a career because we think that this is the best, because that is how everybody else say. I'm a career counselor, and I tell everybody, the only good career for you is something that makes you happy. Remember this. So here is a man who resigns from his ICS and he jumps into the war for getting this country the freedom from a force which already had conquered all many nations during World War I and has also done the same thing. They are part of Allied forces and have subjugated mighty forces like Germany, Italy, Turkey, and Japan. In this scenario, this young man decided to give up his ICS, came back home, joined the political movement with the then prevailing, the only prevailing political party, Indian National Congress, where great personalities like Mahatma Gandhi, Motilal Nehru, and others were present. He commanded lot of respect, and in spite of their opposition, could manage to get himself elected as the president of Indian National Congress. But he was very sensitive, and he recognized very easily that Mahatma Gandhi, whom he for the first time called the father of nation, did not like his ways of functioning, and therefore resigned from Tripura Congress, where he was elected the president. I believe that for most of us who are seeing the present political tamasha, it is very hard to comprehend that how a person can so easily give up a career in ICS or resign from the presidency of Indian National Congress. But that is what he did, and that is why comes the Subhash way of being the person to save your life. Country was under the control of power which ruled over many countries in the world, and like I said, sun never used to set in British Empire. That was the force. But here, a loner, a single man with no training in army, no military, no other knowledge, his only mission was to liberate this country from the clutches of foreign rulers. And he never tried to find an excuse and wholeheartedly joined the movement and did whatever little he could to realize his goal. That is the way young men of our time, men and women of our time, should choose their career and try to achieve success. Like many others, bright young men of his time, he had the ambition of a career, but his passion to get this country liberated was overriding, and therefore he didn't blink his eyes even for a minute to decide that it is not ICS, it is not the presidency of Indian National Congress, but his goal was, his cake was to liberate this country, no matter what the price is. He knew that he has to pay price for it. And therefore, he asked the nation, "Tum mujhe khoon do, main tumhe azadi dunga." Notwithstanding all that, he was very clear about his goal of freedom of India. Global pandemic that we witnessed in recent past has created conditions similar to the conditions that prevailed at a time when he was struggling to get us. There is a chaos all around, there is dependence, people are not very clear what should we do, large number of infections, many more numbers of deaths globally, and we are passing through a transition where nobody is sure what we should do. And I think the young men who are looking for a career are no exception. In this situation, where there is a lot of stress, anxiety, uncertainty, and career challenges, we are at a loss to decide how should we go about it. And that is where Netaji's way of choosing things in the army way, the awakening of soldier in. There is a soldier in all of us. There is a soldier because life doesn't spare anybody from facing challenges, facing stress, facing failure. And Netaji, he was no exception. Neither you are, any of you are exception. We are going through a very stressful time, and therefore, you have to deal with this problem the way possibly he did. How does a soldier deal with his problems? Because he is always charting unknown paths, uncertain conditions. He doesn't know who his enemy is, how powerful he is. And like Netaji, he knew that he was challenging a force or a power which was globally strong. Here, how does a soldier deal with the job profile itself? Demands ability to deal with unfamiliar, uncertain, challenging situation. He falls on the technique that every military leader is expected to follow, and that is the selection and maintenance of aim. That is the first lesson that a military leader is taught. Though there was no formal training for Subhash Chandra Bose, but he chose his goal, that is freedom of independence of this country, and he maintained that aim. SWOT analysis of self and his enemy, the resource planning, which includes material resource and time resource, identifying possible friends and the partners in his game, and finally, minute study of each one of the above. Fact that we know that not knowing language, not having any contacts, he traveled from Europe to Far East, that is Germany at one end, to Japan on the other end. He was not familiar with the languages of those places, culture of those places, but because his goal demanded looking for ally in this country, because these countries were anti-British. So he thought these were the places where he could get help, and he didn't shy away from it. Went to Germany, he got into contact with Nazi leaders. He had the audience of the Führer, the Hitler. Then he went to Japan and sought help there from the Royal Army, the Emperor also. He also tried to enlist the help of Russia. So if you see that at a time when communication was very difficult, language must have been more difficult. Culturally, they have been all very, very unfamiliar, and yet he didn't shy away from approaching those people, going to those places and trying to make effort to get help for his cause. Young men of our time gets upset when they don't get admission in a particular course. They don't succeed in one interview. And here is a man who not only left whatever was available to him, but went for uncharted paths which were full of thorns, where there were no friends, no contacts, no knowledge, but the determination within, the only goal that he has set to make it a success, he strived. Gentlemen, the Second World War, after it was over, many generals said, victory has many fathers, defeat has none, and therefore it is an orphan. Just imagine a person who had missed most of the time his goals, his schedules, and yet he never gave up. It is very pertinent for us to understand that we so easily give up from the cocoon of this comfort of our house. We function, and then when little changes occur, we get upset and give up. He was born to fight. He didn't believe in Shahadat, that is martyrdom. And possibly, I guess, that idea came to him from General Patton. General Patton was the supreme commander of Allied forces when Germany finally let down themselves in the Battle of Normandy. He was the overall commander of all the forces in Normandy landing. And when General Patton was approached to find about his views on martyrdom, he said, I don't want to die for my country. If somebody must, let some other bastard die for his country. I want to live another day so that I can fight for my country. I can render services to my country. That was the goal generally of General Subhash Chandra Bose, who even when he was very down, he didn't give up, he didn't surrender, because there were occasions like when he was in Singapore and Azad Hind Fauj nearly got eliminated, and those who were alive, there were surrenders, mass surrenders in Malay Peninsula, but he refused to surrender because he thought that I must be alive another day and do whatever I could for my country. Gentlemen, the career in armed forces today is a NDA, CDS, and other UPSC conducted examination, followed by 5-day interview. And this is the only place where interview lasts for 5 days. Even IAS, IPS, and other competitive examination, no interview is for more than 15-20 minutes, at the most 30 minutes. Here, the interview process lasts for 5 days. Imagine the person who is selected at the end of it is the one who is likely to fit into the picture or slot of Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose. That is the goal before you. The popular saying amongst the selectors in armed forces, where I had the privilege of spending about 5 years, that when the going gets tough, tough gets going. Life, because the ordinary, the mundane, they simply give up, they melt away, but it is the tough who gets going when the goings are tough. Your actual mettle is being tested when things are against you, when things are difficult, when things are hard. When you must therefore invoke the soldier in you if you want to live with pride, you want to achieve your goal. If you want to say someday with proud that I am the captain of my soul and master of my destiny, to that to happen, you have to take charge of your life the way Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose took it. And I suggest it's high time that all of us should join this Mahayagya that is going on to make an India for the future where we will emerge as leader. Don't forget that we have in last about 12 days time, 2 outstanding Indians born, Swami Vivekananda of 12th of January and Subhash Chandra Bose, this day, some 125 years, this is not merely an accident. This is time we must save, each one of us, because this country of 135 crore would need many more Subhash Chandra Bose, in many more Vivekananda in the present scenario to cope with, combat the challenges that the modern world poses before us. So, gentlemen, I wish you all the luck. I finish with Jai Hind, Jai Bharat. Remember, Subhash Chandra Bose was born at a time when saying Jai Hind was a punishable offense. So, best of luck. I will now request the people who are conducting it to open the house for questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for this valuable session. Yes, sir. बचपन से ही नेताजी विलक्षण प्रतिभा के धनी थे। उन्होंने अपना संपूर्ण जीवन देश के लिए समर्पित किया। नेताजी के अनुसार यदि मन में लगन, उत्साह एवं एकाग्रता हो तो इंसान कुछ भी हासिल कर सकता है। Hope this session was very much helpful for all participants. Now we can take few questions from the viewer. You may ask question from sir.
Dr. Anupama, I request if you have received any question in the
Yes.
chat also, you can take it.
Okay, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, Shivpal Rajput has raised his hand. Shivpal, you can ask question from sir. Sir, I received one question from Khushi
Please.
Tiwari, our
Please
participant.
go ahead.
Yes, sir. Sir, she is asking how Netaji influenced our life today. What one thing you adore from him?
Netaji was a multi-dimensional person. It is up to you and me to decide what part of his action or his conduct we should imbibe. Netaji didn't set the bar for us. It is for us to choose the bar and decide what portion of his life. Because at one end, he had qualified for ICS. And today, I find, because I am involved in that, running of coaching centers, that most of the young people of our time wants to join UPSC or MPSC, ICS, IAS, IPS, Deputy Collector, DSP. So one has to choose. That is what is good for you. Netaji had shown the way. He had made his choice. Because in the entire spectrum of life, man alone has this power of choice of action. So you have to choose, and whatever price that career demands, you have to accept that.
Sir, next question from Tushar Makwana. He is asking how to build up as well as increase growth of patriotism in every youth, because today's youth forget all his duty towards nation.
Thank you. I was waiting for this question. It's very unfortunate. Maybe I'll not sound myself very patriotic, because I believe the India that we have today is not Indian India, it is British India, because the country which earned independence on 15th of August 1947 night, it was part of the 14 states which were already under the control of Britain. And the rest of the 500 1992 princely states were given the option of either joining India or joining Pakistan or remain independent. So in recent history, we have not been treated as a country. Even the neighboring state of Rajasthan had 4 distinct geographical locations: Mewar, Marwar, Shekhawati, and Bundi. And they all Rajputs, they fought each other except Marwar. They all fought each other for nearly 1,000 years. the Chittor port, which is the largest port in natural port in world, its foremost gate was facing east, that is Bundi. So, as a country, we have not lived past 1,000 years. So there is a first requirement to this question. For patriotism to grow, we must first be taught that we are one country, one people. We might practice different religion. Your religion is the way you have communication with your God, but you are all part of this country. Unless this feeling comes, the patriotism is a distant dream. I hope I answer the question.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir. And it looks like we answered all your questions. And is there anything else you would like to mention or ask from sir?
Beg your pardon?
Sir, I'm asking from the participant that if you have any other questions, you can directly ask from sir. Okay. Now we need to make some important announcement. Please share your feedback in feedback form, which is shared in the chat box through Dr. Sayed Sajid sir, and you will get certificate on your mail. If you will not get certificate within 7 days, please visit our website www.medicaps.ac.in to get your certificate. Now, I request our Dean Management, Dr.
Hello? Hello? वापस में बात करें डीन को बोलने के लिए बोल रहे थे तो मैं उसको पहले पूछना चाहता था
So I request Dean Management to give vote of thanks.
Before you do that, sir, I just want to make a small point, if you allow me.
Please, sir.
Please, sir.
One student of your institution have given me cause of happiness. I want to inform you, one of your student, Rajeshri Tolani, who I had the honor of guiding, she not only got selected against many odds, but recently she was awarded Navy's Best Cadet Medal for her performance in Indian Navy. I thank you for providing me such good student, and I feel honored that I got my association with you today. Thank you very much.
So pleasurable and proud moment for all of us at Medicaps here, sir. Thank you very much for guiding our students, and hope to get the continue, guidance for our students for our entire university, from the the academician, the soldier, the having the military background. You got the diversified experience also, to hopeful to get the guidance in future. So good afternoon, everyone. Honorable Vice Chancellor of the Medicaps University, our chief guest and keynote speaker of today's event, Colonel Manojburman, my dear fellow faculty members and my dear students. Today we are celebrating the birth anniversary of freedom fighter Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose as Parakram Divas. He was really a true leader and soldier at heart. He has given the significant contribution in the Indian freedom struggle. Truly said, as Colonel Burman has mentioned it in his speech, that Netaji was believer of philosophy to live for, to fight for the country. Never give up,